Hi, my name is Darren Watts. I'm the writer of Golden Age Champions and the former president of Hero Games. I'm also the writer of Hero Champions products such as Champions Universe, Millennium City, Until, and Lucha Hero. Uh, Lucha Hero, for many years, was the president's project. It was a book that was never on the schedule. It was done when we said it was done, and it was what we worked on, or what I worked on, when I wasn't working on something else. And that came out about 7 or 8 years ago and was replaced as the president's book by Golden Age Champions, which is the book I've been kind of working on in the background while I did a bunch of other projects. I am no longer the president of Hero Games, and it has still taken me all of this time to actually finish this book, but I'm delighted to announce that it is now ready for Kickstartering so that we can get to the final stages and turn this into the project that I think that you will all be very happy with. I'm working with Jason Walters of High Rock Press to get this actually published. We're working with Bill Keyes, who also did several other books for Hero, including Lucha Hero, will be the art director and managing all of that. John Adamus is going to be editing it. We have a bunch of really excellent people involved in the project. And if this gets far enough down the lines, is successful enough, we have potentially a number of other of my dearest friends and colleagues in the industry who might be also available to create some product for this. So let's talk about Golden Age. Golden Age Champions is the book of World War II and the era, directly before and directly ahead and behind of it, basically, historically. And the playing of superheroes during that period. The core activity of the game is superheroes punching out Nazis, and pretty much everybody agrees that that's one of the most fun things you can do at a table. The Golden Age begins formally with the creation of Superman in the summer of 1938. Action Comics #1 is released in June of that year. There are a few heroes who predate that, and I'll talk about them a bit in the book as well. From the pulp characters that superheroes draw their roots from, like Doc Savage or the Shadow, Mandrake, Dr. Occult, they all predate Superman, but really the era begins with the introduction of Superman, who kind of like codifies a lot of the themes, a lot of the concepts that will attach to the superhero, including the secret identity, the costume, the hero who comes from far away to protect like a new adopted homeland. A lot of these like ideas that kind of transformed the pulp hero into what we know as like the modern superhero. Over this next few years, a number of other characters are introduced who kind of help Superman kind of like set those definitions. Batman, Wonder Woman, Captain America, the Spirit, Plastic Man, and my book goes into a fair amount of description of each of those and the archetypes that they represent for this. Then once the war begins, there is kind of a shift in tone as the book becomes kind of more of a historical setting, and you can take those superheroes through World War II action, basically from the time the war begins, even outside the U.S., until its final days in 1945, and then carry through the next few years beyond the war as soldiers are coming home and the comics themselves have to kind of adjust their own interior settings and kind of like reasons for existence. And many of the most notable and interesting villains of the Golden Age are actually post-war creations, so we kind of go through that period as well. Within the timeline that we use within the Champions universe to keep track of these sort of things, the Golden Age ends in 1950 when All-Star Comics goes from being a superhero comic to a Western. And the Justice Society stops appearing as a regular character groups, and that then eventually leads into the Silver Age, which begins with Barry Allen becoming the Flash. So this book represents well over 20 years of my personal efforts campaigning with this. I've run Golden Age campaigns, 4 or 5 of them that have lasted for multiple years each with some of the best players that I've known. And that has heavily influenced the content of the book, obviously, and has heavily influenced the Champions universe, especially the portions of it that I created, 15 years ago. drew from those campaigns. So I have a lot of experience with running this kind of like historical long-running campaign with players frequently playing more than one character, and campaigns stretching out for years. Golden Age does not require you to play it that way, but it provides the support that you need should you actually want to. It also is designed to support running shorter campaigns set within that period, and kind of like also provide some support and giving you ideas about precisely where is the best place to place a given adventure that you might have, as far as the time period that supports it the best. There was a Golden Age book before us. The original Golden Age Champions first appeared in, I believe, 1991 or 2, and was put out by a third-party company called Firebird Limited. That book was then acquired by Hero Games and reprinted as Golden Age Champions, as an actual Hero published book in 1994. Please enjoy that fine cover. This was by Chris Cloutier was the writer for this. Bruce Harlick was the main editor. You may hear Bruce's name come up more than once over the course of talking about this. So there has not been a World War II or Golden Age era support book, in that case, within the Champions line for 22 years. There have been many other outstanding role-playing games that covered World War II in supers, most notably Godlike. Mutants and Masterminds had an excellent one. The DC role-playing game had a JSA support book that was excellent. So there are plenty of other books out there that have covered this period, but none of them to the depth that I intend to. The biggest influences I've had in, as far as the way that the book should look, is what I believe is one of the great books Hero ever put out, is Pulp Hero by Steve Long. And I hope that this book will in fact actually provide the same level of detail and historical support to allow you to play in the period immediately coming after the pulp era, the same way that Steve's excellent book did at the time. It's similarly to Pulp Hero. My book is going to have extensive historical resources, a tremendous timeline divided into multiple sections, so that you can not only read about like the history of the period, but the scientific advances of the period, the pop culture advances of the period, and interesting historical events that you can use as the backdrop for superhero role-playing. Golden Age is designed to be a low-power hero setting. The scale of it is the characters begin at 300 points, and the vast majority of the characters actually provided, of which there will be somewhere between 50 and 60, tend to range around the 400-point power level, both heroes and villains. So those characters can in fact be transplanted out of the Golden Age and can also be reskinned to be used in low power campaigns, for which it's been a while since we've had a support book in the hero system that came in at that power level, which is probably the most powerful, most popular one that we see.